Today, we're diving into the absolutely astonishing life of Hildegard of Bingen. Now, this was a 12th century nun who was a composer, a scientist, a mystic, and a leader who went toe-to-toe with popes and emperors. They called her the Sibyl of the Rhine, and her story is just filled with these incredible divine visions, groundbreaking creativity, and a legacy that, get this, took almost 900 years to be fully recognized.
To really get a handle on Hildegard, you first have to appreciate the sheer, kind of mind-boggling scale of what she accomplished. This image right here, it's from one of her own books, and it shows her receiving one of those visions. You can see the fiery tongues of light coming down from heaven while she dictates to her scribe. Now, this was the source of her incredible work, but her genius? Oh, it wasn't just limited to one thing.
First up, she was a composer, and a revolutionary one at that. In fact, more of her sacred chants have survived than those of any other composer from the entire Middle Ages. Her music was just famous for these soaring, totally unconventional melodies that really pushed the limits of traditional chant.
Then, she was also a scientist. She wrote these huge books on botany and medicine, all based on her hands-on work in the monastery's garden and infirmary. Some scholars even go so far as to call her the founder of scientific natural history in Germany.
And of course, the big one. She was a mystic. Starting at just 3 years old, she had these profound divine visions. She called it the shade of the living light, and these visions became the absolute bedrock of all her theological writings. And if all that wasn't enough, she was a seriously formidable leader. She founded not one, but 2 monasteries, and she wasn't afraid to correspond with the most powerful men of her era. We're talking popes and even the Holy Roman Emperor, Frederick Barbarossa.
So it all begs the question, right? Who was this incredible woman? How on earth did a nun from a little German monastery become one of the most influential people of the High Middle Ages?
To answer that, we've got to go back, way back, to the very beginning, to her pretty unlikely origins and the visions that really defined her right from childhood. So, Hildegard was born around 1098. She was the 10th kid in a noble family and was apparently sickly right from the start, so her path was always going to be a bit different. And as you can see here, she had her first divine vision when she was only 3 years old. A decade later, her parents offered her to the church, and she was enclosed in a monastery, basically sealed away from the world with an older nun named Judith. For the next 30 years, she lived this quiet monastic life, and she kept her visions mostly to herself. But then came a turning point, a moment that would basically unleash her voice on the entire world. She was 42 years old. By this point, she'd been elected the head of her community, but she was still really hesitant to share the full scope of what she was seeing and hearing from God.
Then, in 1141, she got a command she just couldn't ignore. A voice from heaven, and she put it, just boomed. Cry out, therefore, and write thus. It was a direct order to write down everything she had ever seen.
But she hesitated. Can you imagine? She doubted herself, she was afraid of what people would think. And in response, she fell into this strange, paralyzing illness. She believed it was the scourge of God, like a physical sign from heaven, pushing her to obey. And it was only when she finally gave in and started to write that her strength came back.
Word about her writings started to spread, and it eventually reached Pope Eugenius III. He actually sent a commission to check her out, and then, at the Synod of Trier in 1148, he read from her work himself and gave her official papal approval. This was a game changer. It legitimized her as a genuine prophet and gave her the authority she needed to speak out.
And with that approval, well, the floodgates just opened. Hildegard's genius, which had been hidden for so long, was now unleashed across this incredible range of fields.
This slide just sums up her multifaceted talent perfectly. On the left, you've got this beautiful illustration from her major theological work, Scivias, showing a vision of angelic choirs. And on the right, that's musical notation from her play, Ordo Virtutum. She wasn't just writing about divine visions, she was literally setting them to music. Her innovation was just astounding. Her work, Ordo Virtutum, is thought to be the earliest morality play that we still have. In it, all the holy characters, the virtues, the soul, they all sing their parts. But here's a really cool detail. The devil is the only one who doesn't sing. His part is spoken. It was such a brilliant artistic choice, right? A way to show that he's completely separated from the divine harmony of heaven.
And her intellect was just boundless. She came up with these complex theories about the cosmos, like this universal man, which connects the human body, the microcosm, to the universe as a whole, the macrocosm. And as if that wasn't enough, on the right you can see the litterae ignotae. Yeah, she invented her own alphabet for a secret language, probably just for her community of nuns. Incredible.
Okay, so there's this one core concept that really ties all of her scientific and spiritual work together. It's a word she coined herself, Viriditas. It literally means greening power. And for her, it was this divine life force that makes plants grow, that heals the body, and that animates the soul. For Hildegard, this was the living, breathing vitality of God, and it was present in everything.
So, after this absolute explosion of creative and intellectual work, what is the lasting legacy of this incredible woman? And why does she still matter so much today?
While her path to official recognition was, believe it or not, incredibly long, even though she was revered in her own time, it took centuries for the Catholic Church to formally catch up. Just look at this gap. She died in 1179, but wasn't fully recognized until 2012. That's a huge wait.
In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI finally named her a Doctor of the Church. Now you have to understand, this is an extremely rare title. It places her in this elite group of saints whose theological writings are considered to be of universal importance to Christianity.
And that's her story. From a sickly, secluded kid with secret visions to a revered saint and a doctor of the church, she was a true polymath who just shattered the conventions of her time, leaving behind this amazing legacy of music, art, science, and theology that honestly feels as vibrant and alive today as it did 900 years ago.
Her story of being rediscovered, after centuries of being relatively overlooked, it really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? How many other brilliant minds has history simply forgotten?